Y'all did not prepare me for how emotionally brutalizing this book was. Stay crazy girl, I love you. So I ended up freaking loving it. A delight. Gut-wrenching. Honestly, it blew me away. Y'all, the hype is real. I am currently God's favorite. Hi, I'm Sam. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but I have had 4 5-star reads in a single week. And that feels like a major event. I am currently God's favorite. So I figured it would be a great time for me to share these reads with you. For me personally, it's quite rare for me to ever give a book 5 stars. It has to be kind of like right place, right time. Even if a book is fantastic, if the vibe is just like a little off, it's getting some stars deducted. So these, I don't know, like I'm feeling incredibly depressed right now. So maybe if you're feeling incredibly depressed as well, you could read these books and also have a 5-star experience. So I've been trying to prioritize books on my physical TBR. This is a book I've been wanting to read for a while. I purchased it on Thrift Books, and if you are familiar with Thrift Books, it's kind of a gamble, especially if the book is good or in worse condition. This book is out of print, so I took a roll of the dice and just bought an acceptable version on Thrift Books. And what I was sent is the hardcover UK large print edition. So it is so ugly, but this book was a delight. So that is A 5-Year Sentence by Bernice Rubens. This book was shortlisted for the Booker Prize in 1978. It has a much prettier cover that I do not have, but I kind of think that this Uggo cover gives it more character, and now it's my soul sister because I've annotated it and I loved it. This was literally like a 3 to 4 star read until the last 2 pages. Such an entertaining black comedy. I loved observing the world through this cuckoo crazy bananas lady. So this is about a woman who is retiring. It is the day of her retirement and she has made plans to end her life. But as a retirement gift, her coworkers give her this 5-year diary. And since she is obedient to a fault, she now feels like she is imprisoned by this diary and she must at least live for 5 more years in order to fill out every single day of what she did or what she plans to do. So now what she does is every single day she basically writes this really risky task that she wants to complete. And since she is so insanely obedient, it's like she has to do it. So the first kind of like crazy one that she writes down is go to dinner with a man. And you would think, okay, cool, girlie's trying to get out there, like shoot her shot, good for her. No. She literally takes a mirror, paints a fucking mustache on it, and then sits at her dinner table and eats dinner looking into this mirror with this mirror man that she has called Maurice. Like, girl is cuckoo, okay? But I love her. Like, stay crazy girl, I love you. We're dealing with themes of isolation, obedience, people-pleasing. It really towed the line between being funny and unnerving, especially as the novel progresses and we're getting deeper and deeper into chaos. I cannot wait to read more by her. I literally, after this, went out and purchased like 5 or 6 more of her books on Thrift Books because none of her books are in print anymore. And it's like, bro, she was the first woman to win the Booker Prize. How are her books not in print anymore? I don't know. That's a travesty to me, but I found some on Thrift Books, so we'll see if I get more ugly editions like this, but I hope that they are just as funny. He added a PS to the letter wishing her a happy new year, but it was clearly an afterthought, and as such, held out little hope for her future prosperity. In the bank, she tried to write out a cash check without looking, as if someone else were overdrawing on her account. But for legibility's sake, she was obliged to keep one eye open so that the 25 pounds she was donating to herself appeared as a blur and fogged the sin of extravagance. Next is one that I got from my library. It was the first book I read on my new e-reader, so that is Elena Knows by Claudia Pińeiro, and this was translated by Frances Riddle. This is following a woman who has Parkinson's disease. It's set in a single day where she is traveling to this person's house because her daughter has died and the authorities have ruled it a suicide, but Elena knows that that's not actually what happened to her. And because of her disease and the late stage of it, she has to go find this woman so that the woman can help her figure out what actually happened to her daughter. So y'all did not prepare me for how emotionally brutalizing this book was. Like, this was gut-wrenching, brutal. I think the descriptions of Elena's illness and navigating the world in a body that the world really does not accommodate for was brutal. It was brutal to read about Elena's relationship with her daughter before her daughter passed away. Everyone I know who has read this is like, it's so good, 5 stars. And truly, I don't think I can find fault with this book. It was so good. I cannot wait to buy my own copy. Y'all, the hype is real. It is correct. Next is another one that I read on an ebook I borrowed from the library, but that is because the physical copy I own is kind of big and it's a big hardcover, which I find to be very unwieldy to read. So reading it on the e-reader, it flew by. But I'm glad I own a copy because I ended up freaking loving it. Like way more than I thought I would. That is Bad Man by Dathan Auerbach. So I read Penpal by him, I think in the first year of my YouTube channel. Loved it. And honestly, if you liked Penpal, you're gonna like Bad Man. It's very much similar vibe. I'm really kind of over popcorn horror, and I think a lot of modern horror really focuses on overt scares and gore, sort of like in-your-face horror. But I think that's incredibly difficult to pull off without it coming off as kind of cheesy. But I was locked the in for this. This is more of a creeping, eerie, atmospheric horror. I truly cannot remember the last time that I felt like I couldn't put a book down. Like I was so hooked by the plot. I literally was staying up into the wee hours of the night reading this. I was at work thinking about how long I had until I could go home to read this. I read this over a 48-hour period, and the only reason it took me that long is because I had to live and survive and feed myself and meet my basic needs and also do my job. But if I didn't need to do any of those things, I would have like read this in one sitting. I was so locked in. So much of the book takes place in a grocery store in the middle of the night. So the grocery store is closed, but our main character works as an overnight stalker. And I think the idea of a grocery store that's closed and it's the middle of the night is such a fun liminal space to set a horror book in. And Dathan Auerbach handles it so masterfully. So even when our main character isn't working by himself, it still feels so eerie, and you still feel kind of that unease of being in this liminal space. I guess I didn't tell you what this is about because I was just so excited to tell you how much I loved this. This is about a man who's like 19 or 20. When he was younger, he went to this grocery store with his younger brother, and then his younger brother was kidnapped. And obviously he feels very responsible and guilty because he was the one who was supposed to be watching his brother. So now as an adult, he goes and tries to get a job there, and he does, as an overnight stalker. And he thinks that working there will help him uncover more clues about what happened to his brother. So this is kind of crime fiction-y, but for me, what's more at play here is like the eerie, slow burn, creeping, dread horror. And the reason that the setting and the atmosphere are so well done is because it's not like when the main character is working at the store, he's like, oh, this place is so creepy, I'm so afraid right now. It really is Dathan Auerbach just kind of describing the setting. Again, even when the main character isn't expressing overt fear or unease, we as the reader are like, fuck, this place is scary. I wouldn't want to work here. So I think, again, if you liked Penpal by this author, you should pick this one up. It has the same ambiance and vibe that Penpal did, and I loved both of them so much. Okay, and then last we have a book by Emily Austin. I've read 2 of her books, and I really enjoyed them. But this one, I think, is by far my favorite of hers. That is Oh Honey. I mentioned it briefly in my last video, but I wanted to talk about it here because it was so good, and no one talks about this, and I feel like more people need to read this one. We're following this quirky, offbeat, female, probably neurodivergent character as she's trying to navigate life. She works at a call center where she calls people to participate in a survey about feline diabetes. And there is this one guy that she calls 11 times a day, every single day, just to harass him. Our main character goes by the name Jane, and she is on probation for an unknown crime, and she is lying to her probation officer about being clean. Jane is very private about her life and her past, and she lies to everyone, including us, the reader. But as the novel progresses, we are able to see more insight into Jane's past, and the more we learn, the worse it gets. This is a little shorty, and honestly, it blew me away. This has my favorite combo of absurd, quirky, weird, existential, exploring the human condition, all rolled into one. The elevator in my apartment whines while it lifts me. It cries in its elevator tongue that it is in desperate need of repairs. I am in desperate need of repairs, it bawls. Though fluent in the language of the lift, I am no elevator doctor. I cannot cure this sorry machinery of the disorder that plagues it. I do, however, possess the imagination of a gifted child, and I can therefore diagnose it. Elevator Huntington's disease, a rare and malignant elevator condition with symptoms that occasionally include plummeting rapidly to the bottom of the elevator shaft, horrifically mangling all passengers. The prospect of dying inside of this moving metal coffin does not sit well with me. Imminent death in general actually sits quite well with me, but this is not how I wanted to go. I don't want to die because I was too lazy to take the stairs. I wonder if anyone has ever had sex in this elevator. I wonder if anyone has ever done drugs in this elevator. I then remember that I have had sex and done drugs in this elevator. How was your day? I query politely. Well, I didn't get that job at Taco Bell, he answers, dejected. But you know what? I am almost sure it's because Taco Bell is run by the same people who are responsible for the Armenian genocide. I press my lips together for a moment. Are you suggesting that Mexico had anything to do with... He cackles. Mexicans? Don't kid yourself, Jane. Taco Bell is run by the Germans. You think that the Germans are responsible for the Armenian genocide? He taps his nose. I then say quietly, mostly to myself, you think that Germans are responsible for Crunchwrap Supremes? Bang! A thunderous knock on my front door startles me awake. Bang! I climb out of my bed and fumble towards the sound, alarmed and disheveled. What's behind door number 1, ladies and gentlemen? It is my probation counselor! And I am still high! She frowns at me and says, "Oh, Jane." I push my hair out of my face. This is much darker than Emily Austen's other works, so I would definitely check content warnings, but if you liked Emily Austen and you're also into darker, bleaker stuff like I am, just saying, this is going to be a slam dunk for you. So those were 4 books that I read in a single week and gave all 5 stars because I am God's favorite right now. You can like this video if you want. You could comment. Do you want to read these? Give me some recommendations similar to these. Would love to hear them. You could subscribe. I hope your reading year is going just as well as mine is. I gotta figure out what to read next. What's my next 5-star read gonna be? Hopefully I'll let you know in whatever video I make next. Love you. Bye.